Now, news of the purchase of these 275 buses has been in the media for some time now. So why is the minority releasing the statement at this time? I've been speaking to Minority MP and Ranking Member of Parliament's Mines and Energy Committee, Adam Mutawakilu.
There is always time to everything. And as minority, we've monitored the activities of the elections prior to, during, and it points to the fact that it is time to call for a forensic audit as into the activities of the board chairman at GNPC, because we have a cause to complain of certain transactions in the 2018 annual program of activities, having in mind that this could be abuse. And the activities of the board chairman, who is a public officer in that respect, tells to that suspicion that we have, and therefore they call for the president to set up a forensic audit into the activities of some of the transactions of GNPC.
Would you still have gone ahead to ask for this forensic audit if Mr. Blay had lost his bid? Exactly.
This we are calling for forensic audit and for him to step aside. If he had lost the election, would have been calling for only forensic audit. And then two, still asking him to step aside. So as a board chairman, he becomes a public figure. He gives direction into the application of resources. And this opulence expenditure is something that we've never had in Ghana. We have never seen in Ghana. That even surprises the Conservative Party representative, John Hayward, who came to address the party. And finally, his address turned to be the opulence and warning the party that that expenditure could have gone to support the needy. That is fragrance expenditure. And we think that as board chairman, he needs to be investigated where he got the $3 million to guarantee for the supply of the 275 buses.
Now, the issue of who really funded this project, if we may call it, has become a matter of controversy. We heard Kweku Bakun on Newsfile mention that it's actually a party initiative. We heard Richard Nyama say the same, he's with the party. And then we had Mr. John Buedu actually come out to say that is not the case. Now, would you still call for a forensic audit of the GNPC chair if it turns out that the party actually funded this?
You see, we are not talking about just the 200 and who provided the guarantee? Is the guarantee of the $3 million. That is a bone of contention. Honorable Freddie Blay has publicly said he's providing or he's provided the guarantee of $3 million. And that is the question we have. Not if it is a party initiative and he can give out $3 million as guarantee for that, we have a question mark. The MPP head office in 2015 was nearly sold by Prudential Bank because it owed the bank about 2 million Ghana cedis, not dollars. Where was Freddie Blay then? He was the acting chairman.
But someone will say that's his personal decision on what to guarantee and what not to.
If you go to guarantee $3 million, where you are the board chairman of a national oil company, it calls into question. The National Oil Company is just not an ordinary company. 2018 alone, per their budget, almost $300 million that they will use for its activities. About 1.6 billion Ghana cedis. This is not small money. For a board chairman, to come out with $3 million, it will raise any prudent governance and democracy will raise questions as to where he got that money. And he has not told us where he got that money, and we need to ascertain where he got that money. After we raise serious issues in respect to the annual program of activities for 2018.
Now, also there's this issue of linking the lack of ambulances in the country to the purchase of these 275 buses. One would argue, why do you want to determine for a private citizen what they should be using their money for?
It tells you the priority of the government as well, and tells you the level of embracement of alleged corruption within the NPP.
But this is a private individual, though he belongs to the governing party. Don't you think he has the right to determine what he wants to use his money for?
What prevents a private individual supporting the government in power and the party that it wants to lead in the procurement of ambulance? It needs to the success of the party. And his success, his being chairman and recognized well as chairman depends on the success of the party. So why not supporting government to do that? Private individuals have supported government before without taking a penny, and I can enumerate them. What prevents him from doing that? You see, where we have a situation where people die because emergency units do not have buses, a call to circumspection. The opulence public expenditure, the extent at which public officers go to. The extent.
But we haven't been able to establish this money, where it's coming from, and that's why you're calling for a forensic audit. Take it as his private money and he's able to prove it. Don't you think he reserves the right to decide what to use the money for?
He deserves the right to use when it is ascertained. And that is why we are saying that we believe that the forensic audit will reveal the truth of where the $3 million is coming from. Once he has not been able, and the president hasn't set up any forensic audit to prove it, we'll line it to any other activities that is hampering the development of the nation.
You made mention...
And even if, assuming he uses his own money at that extent, it destroys the fabric of the society, pointing to the figure that it's money that is everything. And when a society thinks that it's only money, they will use all means to acquire money. And it also sends a signal to government appointees, especially when it is embraced by the president in this occasion, that, okay, let me acquire more wealth, the president will like me more. And that leads to corruption. So it becomes an opening, small, but it can expand to government appointees. Once the president had embraced it, the president should have, to some extent, warned him that the level of expenditure, we are worried. You are sending a wrong signal to the whole world and the nation in respect to politics. But the president embraced it and praised him and supported him. It leads to all kind of impression in the minds of Ghanaians, and especially to his appointees, assuming it was even coming from his private resources.
You also mentioned cash distribution during the just ended annual delegates conference of the NPP. Any evidence of that?
Yes, I won't mention him. But as far as they have delegates, we have friends among the delegates. And they tell us what went on. I also saw on TV3, even snacks, designed in his name and picture, that went on. So we speak on the fact that some physically seen, others, we also have friends among the delegates who told us what went on there. But I'm not here to mention names of those friends.
What would you say to those who say you are picking and choosing what to talk about depending on who is involved? Because we know and we've seen paraphernalia during your own events such as these, branded in candidates' images and all. So why raise questions if Mr. Freddie Blay is doing the same?
It's the level. Nobody says that expenditure in terms of party, is something that we should forbid. It's the level and the position of the person. Very critical. Why am I not condemning Honorable Fred Aware? He's the CEO of Bui Power Authority. Why is it that his name is not mentioned? Why? You ask question, is it that he didn't print paraphernalia? He did. But the level at which, so there's always a ceiling to a certain expenditure that will prompt people to think negative about you.
So here in Ghana, we don't have that standard set by anybody. So who determines what is an extreme form of expenditure?
Extreme form of expenditure is determined by the outcry of civil society organizations in respect to political expenditure. It's determined by when international bodies visit you or other parties outside Ghana like the Conservative Party in UK representative, come for your Congress, and he thinks that the level of expenditure and opulence, it needed to be invested somewhere. So you could see, even before the elections, a lot of red flags. Very important people, civil society organizations, the media themselves, talking about the opulence. That should send you a signal that what I'm doing is not the best in the interest of Madagascar.
You wrap up your statement on the expenditure and on Mr. Freddie Blaine in the call that he should be audited with a 2-week ultimatum to the president. You've mentioned that if he does not heed this, you're going to find other avenues to address your concerns. Which avenues are those?
You see, we have discussed, and within the 2 weeks, we will continue to deliberate and discuss as a minority all the viable options. So I cannot, for now, just mention this option, this option. We'll evaluate. We have a number of options. We'll take these 2 weeks to evaluate each option and pick those that are viable and act on them. This will involve extensive consultation, not only with the minority in Parliament, with all stakeholders that want to ensure that discipline in public offices, protecting the national purse, is supreme.
Do your options include the special prosecutor?
They are all inclusive.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.